If someone told you that the success of a huge AI transformation has nothing to do with the tools, but everything to do with how your HR and tech teams talk to each other, would you buy it? Well, get ready, because we're about to dive into the most overlooked and maybe the most powerful partnership in the entire AI revolution.
So that's really the big question we're tackling here, right? Is success all about having the latest, shiniest technology? Or is it about something a lot more human? As we're about to find out, the answer might actually surprise you.
Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the real challenge of AI, then look at why these big projects so often fail. From there, we'll introduce this really cool new model called the co-pilot partnership, walk through a real-world playbook, and then wrap up with how you can start building this future yourself.
So let's get right into the heart of it, the real AI challenge. And the big secret? It's about so much more than just the tech. Here it is, the single most important idea. The absolute linchpin of making AI work isn't the algorithm, it's not the software. It's having a deep, collaborative partnership between your people experts in HR and your tool experts in tech. Think of them as the co-pilots redesigning how work actually gets done.
Now, to really understand why this partnership is so critical today, we have to take a quick look back at why so many digital projects have crashed and burned in the past. It's a history lesson we really can't afford to repeat.
And this quote from CTO Barry Hensch just nails it. He calls the relationship between HR and tech a rocky road. It wasn't that they were enemies, not at all, but it just wasn't truly collaborative. Too often, one side would show up with a finished idea instead of creating something new together. So let's break down what that rocky road looked like. The old way was a straightforward tech project. Tech would lead the charge, plan some big bang launch, and then, right at the end, they'd call in HR to handle the training. The focus was all about the tool. The new way? It's a total mindset shift. HR and tech are co-pilots from day one, figuring out the business problem together and focusing on what really matters, getting people to actually use the new stuff and change their behavior.
And that brings us to the solution, the co-pilot partnership. This isn't just about being nicer to each other. It's a completely new way for these two critical teams to work.
So let's be super clear about what this means. In a co-pilot partnership, both HR and tech co-lead the whole thing. It's not a tech project that HR just supports. HR owns the people side of things, the culture, whether the organization is even ready for change. Tech owns the tools and the speed. But, and this is the absolute key, they define the business problem together, right from the very start.
What's so interesting here is how it clarifies everyone's role without putting them in boxes. HR brings that real, honest perspective on what people can actually handle. Are they ready for this change? Meanwhile, tech knows the tools inside and out and understands the pace of innovation. You put those two together and you get an approach that is both ambitious and realistic. An approach that actually works.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Oh yeah. Let's dig into a fantastic case study to see how this plays out. So, picture this. A 5,000-person company is going through a massive change. They're switching their entire ecosystem from Microsoft to Google. But here's the thing. It wasn't really about a new email client. The real goal was way bigger. It was about fundamentally changing the company's culture to be more collaborative. Now, instead of a normal rollout, they used this brilliant three-phase playbook. First, ignite and listen. They didn't try to crush resistance. They leaned into it. They listened to people's fears. Then, excite and discover, where they built real, genuine buzz. And finally, adopt and mastery, which focused on the long game, building new habits and changing behaviors for good. And get this, you might think this deep, human-focused approach would take forever, right? Nope, it was the exact opposite. They went from signing the deal to being fully live for all 5,000 people in just 6.5 months. How is this so fast? Simple. By dealing with the human fears and resistance up front, they avoided all the usual roadblocks that slow projects down later. This collaborative way wasn't just better, it was way more efficient.
So what's a good way to think about this partnership? The one that can be a little tense but is ultimately super effective? Meriya Dyble, one of the leaders on that project, had the perfect analogy. It's like Bert and Ernie. They live together, they've got things to do, and yeah, they don't always see eye to eye, but deep down, they're great friends who are working towards the same goal.
Okay, so how do you actually make this happen in your organization? It all boils down to leadership and being intentional about shifting the culture. So what does that look like day to day? Well, it comes down to a few key behaviors.
Leaders have to be curious and be willing to learn right alongside their teams. You have to create psychological safety, a space where people feel they can share a half-baked idea without getting shot down. When mistakes happen, and they will, you have to frame them as learning opportunities. Instead of just saying no, try asking, how might we? And finally, every decision has to tie back to real business value.
And really, all of this is built on a simple but powerful principle from Brené Brown. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. When you're going through a massive change, like an AI transformation, being vague or ambiguous just creates anxiety. Being direct, honest, and clear is one of the kindest things you can do as a leader.
So we end up right back where we started. The success of AI at work isn't really about the tech. It's about the quality of the human partnership that's driving it. Which leaves us all with one big question to think about. Is your organization set up to argue over tools, or is it ready to really, truly co-pilot the future?